Hi everybody. This is a panel discussion on the topic publish or perish. It will be moderated by Siddharth Panda, and 5 of us are there in the panel. Myself, Dr. Arun Behra, then Dr. Suman Pathak, Dr. Venugopal, Dr. Manohar, and Mr. Rajesh. This is being organized under the banner of the Dawn Journal, and Dawn Journal is a multidisciplinary, peer-reviewed online literary and exploratory journal. It's published twice a year, and it focuses on world literature, English language teaching, tribal studies, warfare awareness, employability skills, and entrepreneurship. It was established in 2012 and is indexed in Index Copernican Journals, Linguistics Abstract Online, PAC Directory of Open Access Journals, Directory of Research Journal Indexing, Academic Journals Database, and many others. It publishes high quality journals from across the globe, and we are trying to. I am also incidentally, Rajesh has been very kind to have me his review panel, and we are trying to get it impact factor and recognize IS and other recognition as well. This will be moderated by Professor Siddharth Panda. He will introduce all the moderators and also request each of us, 5 of us there, request us to give our take, initial couple of minutes maybe, on the topics that we have chosen to speak or discuss. And as it goes, maybe a couple of rounds of questions, and after that we will keep the floor open to the participants. We'll try to respond to all the questions to the extent possible. In case we don't have time or any technical glitch or hitches are there, we will try to send the answers to their emails or in the chat box. We would request the participants to please leave the questions in the chat box instead of asking, because anyway we will have muted the mics. Too many people asking questions simultaneously will disrupt this proceeding, and everybody will nobody can hear anybody else. So which is why let's keep the rules straight. Participants, please, whatever questions you have, whatever doubts you have, whatever issues you have, please type it on the chat box, and our moderator Professor Panda will coordinate, and then we will try to respond to your questions to the extent possible. And as far as the questions are concerned, we have tried to accommodate a number of questions that would be of interest to most of you. In case some questions are left out, in case you feel that some questions we could have addressed, then we will try to address and maybe take it up later. Right, over to Siddharth, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Arun Behra. Sir Albert Einstein once said, "Imagination is the highest form of research." I welcome all the participants and expert panel members to the panel discussion on the topic Publish or Perish. It's my privilege to introduce our expert panelists one by one. I welcome Dr. Arun Behra. Dr. Behra, who holds a PhD in phonetics and spoken English. Excuse me, the participants, may I request you to mute the audio, please? Participants, please mute your audio, please. Yes, I welcome Dr. Behra, who holds a PhD in phonetics and spoken English, has 30 years of experience, currently an associate professor of English at Sri Satya Institute of Higher Learning, deemed to be university. He has authored 7 books, published 100 papers. He is the editor, reviewer of 10 national and international journals, and won many awards. Thank you for joining with us, Dr. Behra.
Thank you.
And we have one of the eminent speaker, Dr. Suman Pathak. is a professor at Maths Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship, Jain deemed to be University, Bangalore. He is very passionate about research and very passionate academician and a trainer in the field of human resource management, organization behavior, and organizational development. He has 25 years of experience and published various research papers in high quality index journals and guided several research scholars successfully. Ma'am, thank you very much for joining with us today for a panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Satya. Thank you.
And another eminent speaker we have, Dr. M. Venugopal, brings within a blend of corporate, leadership, and teaching experience. Some of the key positions that he held earlier are Senior Director, HR Maxwell Intellectual Property Services, Group Head, HM Group, Dean and Director, Oxford Group, Director, Krupanidhi Group of Institutions. Presently, he is the Director of Primer B School, Nite School of Management, Bangalore. Thank you, sir, for being with us and to be the part of virtual meet today. Further, we have Dr. Manor Kapse, who is presently an assistant professor in business analytics at Christ deemed to be University, Bangalore. He has been part of many workshops on SPSS and machine learning as a research person in many renowned institutions across the country. He has published over 25 research papers, case studies, and books. He has his own YouTube channel to guide researcher on SPSS. Thank you for being with us as a panelist, Dr. Manor Kapse.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure.
And we have very young, dynamic researcher, Mr. Rajesh is the founder and editor-in-chief of the Dawn Journal. He works as an assistant professor, vowel trainer at Sri Sakti Institute of Engineering Technology, Coimbatore. He has authored 2 books of poetry in Tamil and a competent researcher and passionate about thinking differently. Thank you for joining with us, Mr. Rajesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the introduction.
Also, I welcome to all the participants from various parts of the country, and we have few international participants with us today. Once again, thank you very, very much to all of you. I request all the participants to mute your audio for effective sound system. Now let's have the opening remarks from the panelists this afternoon. We'll start with Dr. Arun Behra, followed by Dr. Suman Pathak, Dr. M. Venugopal, Dr. Manohar, and Mr. Rajesh. Over to you, Dr. Behra.
The thought of having a webinar kind of thing, a panel discussion virtually, struck all three of us, Dr. Rajesh, and then Satya Siddharth, and me. We were last week we conducted a webinar wherein it went off successfully, and that gave us encouragement to start to try experimenting on something else. And we believed that many people were keen to know something about research, how research is to be done. Basic question is what to research on. Second question could be something like why should I research? What is the impetus? What is the benefit? What is the merit? What are the advantages that I get? Then third thing is how about doing a research. It's not just taking a topic and then work on that. Then number 4, and then many other questions we discussed, and then we came to a conclusion that this could possibly help those who are enrolling for research, or those who intend to research, like even MA, PG also. PG students also have to write dissertations, and MPhil and PhDs, or even for senior people like us who have already done research long ago, but still we can relive the memories, we can reskill ourselves, and whatever we had learned or applied then 30 years ago, we will also get a chance to understand from everybody how it happens now. So that's basically the idea. And the one important thing why we chose this topic is because we thought UGC and many other agencies these days are insisting on people to publish, especially academicians, for their academic growth and career enhancement. Now, publication is one of the basic requirements that universities, UGC, and all colleges, everybody, they want. Of course, it's not just publication for the heck of it. It has to take good. It has to have some standard. So that's why we thought this would be an apt topic, having something like publish or perish. If you don't publish, you can't survive. Incidentally, they for getting selected into a college or a university also, people will, there are marks for publication. Each publication fetches you some marks. We will discuss those points in course of the panel discussion as and when it crops up. So there are points for each publication, national, international, impact factor based, and all those, and promotion also, career advancement scheme. Those are also again depend on publication. The more publication you have with good impact factors, the better chances you stand to get promoted or get increments and all those. So that's two. Number three, it also keeps you updated and makes you feel good that okay, whatever area I have specialized in, whatever things interest me, whatever subject I am interested in, I can always bank on that, and I can always share my knowledge and experience with others. Now, knowing something is one thing, but then delivering it to others and also sharing with a larger public is of immense importance. So this forum today, this platform today, will possibly try to help all the participants and all of us as well to understand and share our knowledge and mutually gain from each other. We also will gain from you. You also can take whatever we have take away, whatever we give as take away to you at the end of this lecture, at the end of this. So thank you, Satya Siddharth.
Thank you, Dr. Baira. Now I request Dr. Suman Pathak to give the opening remarks.
Thank you, Professor Satya. In fact, this topic, perish and publish or perish, it is very relevant in sense of that the research work need to be published. It means it need to be stored. Otherwise, it is creating lot of hackle, lot of problems. And it is very, very essential that the work, whatever you do in the research, it need to be published. It is like we said for that knowledge. Research is a knowledge. So creating knowledge, sharing knowledge, and managing knowledge is very, very essential. And publication is a type of management of research. Because if you are not able to get it published in some renowned journal, if you are not able to give some more citations for future research, if you are not giving some more base for the research gap, then your research is not very useful. And to some extent, it is baseless. And nowadays, when there is lot of pressure on the funding and research funding, and colleges are accredited on the ground of this only, that whether the what kind of research you are doing, what are your publications, your accreditation, your research, your rating agencies, they all are giving so much focus on all these things. In this era, it is very, very important to have a publication in a renowned journal with a purpose, and it should be original, it should be transparent. In my opinion, this topic is very, very relevant in current scenario, when everybody is trying to publish, and there are certain reasons, because your research work or your research paper or your dissertation or your thesis is not up to that level that it could be published. So that it is very essential that you should know from the beginning that if we want to get my work published, then what are the criteria on which we have to work. How to avoid copy paste, how to avoid plagiarism, to go through the plagiarism. There are many other things, like your idea should be original, should be authentic, it should be transparent, and these all are the things. I think, in my opinion, this topic is very relevant in current situation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Manor, may I request you to give the opening remarks, please?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Dr.
Loud
Manor,
and,
Yes,
loud
sir.
and clear.
request you to give
Yeah.
your opening remarks.
Yeah. Basically, people think that research is related to academics only. It's a part of academics, but it's not true in the present scenario. Research is part of each and every job which is exists and which is happening around the world. If you see the current situation, now it is job of each and everyone to do a research on COVID, supply chain, people who are around, laborers, how to transport laborers, and everything. So I think research is not limited to academics. It is part of each and every job, it's part of each and everyone's life. This is what I initially want to say.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Manor. So we can continue with Mr. Rajesh. I would request you to give the opening remarks, please.
Thank you, Siddharth sir. So, good evening, everyone. I would like to just share that how I started writing. So, I started writing when when I was like in my first year or second year when I was doing my undergraduation. And from then I started contributing a lot of papers. I came to know about different journals, and that is how I learned about how journal works and what are the expectations they have, what are the requirements they have when it comes to writing a research article. So slowly, I tried to learn all those things one by one, and there were a lot of people who were trying to help me out with the concept of research and all these things. So that is how I began my journey as a research scholar. And when I joined my MPhil, that gave some idea about what research is. And then now I've submitted my PhD thesis. So in this process, I've learned a lot of things about research. So when it comes to research, I think originality is everything. So that is what I believe. And in fact, Arun sir's topic, plagiarism, is very apt for our research purpose. Like whenever people contribute something to my channel, I always feel that a lot of content is plagiarized. They are done intentionally as well as unintentionally. So I think that we should focus on writing original research papers, and every journal it has its own kind of guidelines to format the paper and many things like that. So as a research student, I think you have to focus on all these requirements and eligibilities correctly, and books like MLA and all those things, you need to be familiar. So that's how I think we should start your journey. So one is according to me is being original. The other one is like you have to do research in what is required. Maybe there are already a lot of research has been done in a lot of topics and areas. So you need to always be unique in what you're trying to do. I think these two will help you in coming up with a very good research, which is beneficial to the researcher as well as to the society. So that is what I feel about research. Thanks.
Great.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rajesh, for
Thank
giving a brief insight about your topic. Let's understand what Dr. Behra feels about what is published or Paris. What do you think, Dr. Behra?
Okay. Initially, as I gave my viewpoint on the initial remarks on what is published or perished, it's like this. Either do something good, do something really good, or get lost. It's like Darwinian theory. Whoever survives, survival of the fittest. You do good, you compete, you perform well, and you survive. Otherwise, you perish. Now, this holds true with regard to publication as well. If you and publication requires a number of things. One of the basic necessities is that you should have. Yes, we have Dr. Venugopal. Yeah, hi, sir.
Yeah, I think
we can listen to him first.
yeah. Let him. I think he's
Okay, we'll maybe connect with him later.
Yes, you can continue, Dr. Bara.
Yeah. So this phrase perish, publish or perish, is ascribed to a sociologist named Logan Wilson, who used in a book studying academia as a career way back in the 1940s, early 40s. And it is also credited to Kimball Atwood. Then, of course, he was in the Columbia University, and he is also believed to have used this term sometime around 1950. But whatever the history, whatever is might be the case with regard to history, one thing is true, that we got to publish, or otherwise we can't survive. And in order to publish and be remain remain useful to the society or to the community that we are a part of, we need to publish good work. Now, when I say good work, I mean it has to be original, like Rajesh mentioned in his remarks, initial remarks. It has to be original. Uh, not that we are getting something. We should get something that nobody has ever seen. But it should be copied and pasted. It should be, we can refer to people always. Wherever they are relevant, wherever sources are good, wherever we refer to sources, we can always accredit them. We can always give credit to those things, and that will make such original. At least we acknowledge somebody. I have done something. I write something. I cannot write it on my own. I refer to something in the literature review, for instance. Hundreds of things I might have to refer to, but then I must make sure that I acknowledge them. They get their due. Unless we acknowledge somebody who has done research and original work, and unless I recognize his contribution or validate his work, then that will be construed as plagiarism or cheating academic integrity, loss of academic integrity. Now we must make sure that whatever work we do must be original truth. Number one. Secondly, it must help society, it must benefit people, it must address an issue that people are facing, it must deal with something that might to a large chunk of society benefit. Coming to this idea, this concept of publish or perish, UGC and many other agencies have strict guidelines. In fact, in 2018, UGC released a long, very comprehensive guideline with regard to publication and other things. One of them is that that it's necessary for every academician who is a part of academic culture, a university, college, or an institute, or who aspires to join a college or any academic fraternity. One of the requirements is that he or she must have some publication. Now that of course the number they have given for promotion and all those, it must be minimum 3. For PhD defense, to be eligible to defend your thesis, you must have at least 2 publications in a peer-reviewed journal, UGC listed journals, and all kinds of things. But whatever the case may be, at least one thing is true. One thing remains a fact, that as an academician, we got to be engaged in academic pursuit throughout our life. That is why even when people are talking about COVID and lockdown and job losses and all those, two areas are immune to. They are not affected by, they will not be affected by COVID kind of thing. One is the academic and another is the medicine. People will study, people will attend schools and colleges and universities, no matter what. Only problem is somebody who wanted to join an Ivy League college, a good B school, an IIM kind of thing, might land up in a smaller college or school. That's okay, but then academics will not stop. And second thing, medicine and hospital. That medicine industry also. Please mute your.
Please, participants, please mute your audio.
Okay. So once we write a paper, so first thing is an idea has to strike. What to start? There has to be some beginning somewhere. So okay, one idea starts, and then you start working on that, giving a thought that okay, I found this to be interesting. I feel this area or this topic is of relevance, and then next step is I must search all the literature that people have worked on in that relating to that work pertaining to that field. So that will come under literature review. After that, once I have an access to all the literature, all the sources available to me, including the online sources, next stage is to collect them, is to take notes from them, is to take ideas from them, is to refer to them, and then come to a conclusion, right? Deducing. Once I come to a conclusion, then next step is to establish that whatever I want to establish, whatever I want to justify, whatever I want to prove, I must
Participants, please
back it.
mute your audio.
I must have enough evidence to back up my data. I cannot just make a statement flat and then say that's it. If man eats cows eat grass, man eats grass and therefore man is a cow. No, that nobody will accept. It has to be valid. It has to be validated. It has to have evidence. It has to be supported by proofs and data. So in order to collect those data and evidences and all those, I must study a lot. I must do a research. And in course of my researching, in course of my collecting data and information and all the other facts and figures and all those, that must be so exhaustive, so comprehensive and so vast that it can be proven anywhere, anytime by anybody. We call that, for sciences especially, we have a term called universal acceptability. Now, somebody says water flows downwards. Now, anybody does anywhere and anytime, result will be the same. I do it here in Bangalore, you do it there, Rajesh does it in Coimbatore, I do it now, somebody did it 10 years before, somebody else will try it 20 years from now, results will be identical. That's why they are scientific. They remain unchanged. So in literature also, in humanities also, we can still have those things, but then one requirement is that it has to be backed by data. And once everything is ready, once I have done a research, I have studied that, I have collected data and information, I have written down those points in a logical sequence with following all the norms that the research paper demands, with introduction, abstract, then the introduction, abstract, and then discussion, the literature review, and finally conclusion and all those, and bibliography, list of books or sources cited. It must comply with all these things, then only it can become a good research paper. Of course, and we have, luckily these days, lots of softwares that can check whether a particular piece of writing is copied or not. Turnitin is one such tool, which can tell you the extent of copying or plagiarism or cheating that has happened in that paper. You run it through that software, Turnitin or Plagichecker, and they will give you an idea of whether it's to what extent this paper is copied or thing. Of course, some sources, some agencies accept up to 10%, some accept up to 20%, but it's okay, 10-20%, because grammatical words and then some figures and some facts, they are bound to be overlapping. That's okay. But at least as far as our wording is concerned, structuring of a sentence is concerned, information is concerned, it has to be from our own source. Right? That's it. Thank you, Siddharth.
Thank you, Dr. Behra. Now, I would request Dr. Suman Pathak to enlighten us on what's a research question, because this is a fundamental question for any researcher, how to start and where to start. Yes, Dr. Suman, please.
Thank you so much, Satya. And this topic of research question, actually we start with the research question only. Whenever you plan to search something, there is something in your mind, or you want to do on some specific topic, that is the research question. This is the first thing that you have to do when you plan for a research. A research question is actually a question that you plan to answer after your research. That is what you search in your research. Like suppose nowadays lot of migrants are moving from one place to other place. So the question is, why these migrants are moving? What are the reasons? What are the challenges they are faced? Why they are so much not even waiting for the time, or why they are doing that? So this all is a curiosity which give a origin or motivation for a research. And the research question is actually when you ask that why we are going for a research, what we are going to search. This is the research question. So basically it is a very, very important thing in your research, because when you plan that what's the research project or thesis or dissertation, you should know that what you are going to search. And what you're going to search is the research question. As far as if you see the research question depends on, so yes, it is depend on the length of the topic. If it is a PhD, then you may have 3-4 research questions which you will search during course of the research. If it is a research paper, you can start with one research question. If it is a dissertation, MBA thesis, you can have 2-3 research questions, and this is depend on the length of the project. Then what is the type of the research? If it is a descriptive research, then sometimes we frame the objectives, and that objectives we convert into the research question, because if we try to identify the objective of the research, and then we make the questions on that research objective. Like if my objective is that my objective is to search that how much Maslow's need hierarchy is useful for the organization. So this is my objective, and this is my research question also in a descriptive research. But when is a exploratory research, then sometimes it is a question which you have to search. Like what are the factors which affect the motivation? You don't know that motivation is affecting or not, but you do the research with the help of the factors. There are 10 factors of the motivation. These motivational factors affect the productivity or performance or whatever you want to, or organizational effectiveness, whatever you want to. So this is second thing. Then what is your topic? What kind of research you questions you can frame on the topic, and then what is your research problem? This all will help is what should be the research question of your research topic. But the biggest thing is that this research question survey, you have to take help with the research gap. You have to take help from the theoretical and conceptual framework. This I always tell to my student, my research scholar. They never write a lie. Never write a lie in your research work without having a good background of the work. Because if you have a similar research, you can search it. You can go through the research papers, and then you can plan for the research. That's what you really want to do. Never you think and write. You have to search it. You have to validate it. You have to search in the literature, available literature on the topic, and then you try to make the identify the literatures with the research survey. You identify what are the factors, what are the research gaps in the research papers, and with the help of that, only you have to design the research.
Dr. Venugopal, you're with us?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Yeah, please.
Yes, Dr. Venugopal, it's if you can just give your thoughts on why research mindset is important for students.
Actually, in the current scenario, research is playing a very vital role in the industry as well as in the common phenomena. See, when you see big multinational companies, almost all companies, big time companies, they are much focusing on the research and development area. And the students has a lot of opportunities to get into this research wing, which gives them a lot of scope to go for eye for detail. And companies are looking for the students who have some inclination towards the research. So I feel research is very important in present generation, and students who are having this research inclination and having interest will have definitely a good scope in India and abroad. So companies like Dell, companies like Microsoft, companies like Infosys, they have a separate wings, and they are nurturing the young upcoming research students. So I hope this is a very good topic which you have taken, and which will help the students to understand how important is research at the time of their post-graduation and graduation level. If you see in the world, almost all top-notch institutions They are focusing more on this research areas. Even when you go for accreditations, the apex bodies almost all they are giving high scoring for uh, research and development activities. And I hope this initiative which you have taken is excellent. And I say research encouraging is very important in almost all institutions. And I say students, for students, this research is like a lifeblood nowadays. When they are into research, they'll go for eye for detailing, and they will get a creativity of idea, okay, critical thinking, problem solving, okay, and they'll get an emotional intelligence. All these are the qualities when they get into this research and development aspects. I think every institution should give the highest priority at the graduation and post graduation level, so that the skills will enhance and you can make these students for industry ready. And with this you can make the students to get into the research part and get into the teaching profession or any other opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Venugopal, for giving an insight. So it's Dr. Manohar's turn to elaborate on, can a paper be published without statistics? What do you think, Dr. Manohar?
The question which you had asked is, so can you repeat the question, Satya sir?
Can a paper be published without statistics? Because it's a myth that most of the researcher beginner always have a high pickup tense about when they talk about analysis and statistics. So what is your takeaway, sir?
See, without statistics, paper is preferred, but there is a problem when we prove or when we make a statement or when we claim something, so it should be backed by something. So data is one of the best things which we can have to back our statements, our problems, our solutions. But if there is no data, but we have some basic research, conceptual papers, some theories, then we can write a research paper and we can prove our problem or a solution which we are giving. It's not compulsory that we should always have a data. Very good theories, very good research papers, very good concepts can form a good research paper. So it's not always true. Even Cambridge and Oxford, big universities, they consider conceptual papers.
Thank you, Dr. Manohar, for sharing your very good insight. So let's hear what Rajesh has to say about identifying a research problem. Mr. Rajesh, over to you, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So, okay, the idea of research, when we think about research and identifying a topic, we more often say it is a research problem. So, research, when there is a problem, we need to identify a solution, and we use this research as a tool to try to identify something which is not there already. So, that is why we say that research is very unique, or we have to come up something which is not there already existing. So when it comes to identifying a research problem, I think we have to have a lot of background reading first, and we have to choose a very interesting topic. So you should be passionate about that topic first as a researcher, and then you need to do a very in-depth background study about what is already there and what is required now. So based on that, I think we should begin. And then slowly you can brainstorm on different concepts or theories, whichever is available. Like what methodology you're going to adapt for writing your research thesis. Okay, so that methodology is very important. And then after that, I think review of existing literature comes into role. So here we refer to a lot of journals and books and whatever sources we have access to. I think we have to make an in-depth study about all these things and then find out where we can narrow down our topic. So we always start with a broader topic, and then slowly we move on to we narrow down to a particular niche. So I think when we work on niche, I think it would be the most appropriate way to approach research rather than going very broad. For example, I can say, like, if you want to choose poetry, now there is world poetry. You can choose any kind of poetry that is existing in the world, right from classical or from Australian or American. You can choose anything. Now that is literally very broad to do a research on that, because you have thousands of poets and authors writing works every day. So it is always best that you restrict your research to a particular area, which is which you can try to focus on, so that it will be realistic, instead of thinking about taking up some 2 or 3 topics or merging a lot of topics together. It is going to become complicated. So the first thing is you need to be highly interested in your topic. The second thing is you need to find out what is existing already there. So you need to differ from all the existing literature to be unique in your whatever you are writing. And then the review of literature comes. You need to have a clear idea about what people have said about this, or you need to identify the research gap. So that thing is very important. And then I think you should focus. You should choose your focus area in which you can do the research. And finally, I want to say that being very unique and trying to bring in something new that would be beneficial for every one of us. And whenever there is whenever people read your research article or thesis, they should always have a futuristic thought about what we can improve further. So I think these things will help you in a great way to write something which is very special. So that's it. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh, for giving a very good insight about how to identify the research problem. Again, I'll come back to Dr. Venugopal.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, doctor. I have one more question, if you can help us to understand.
Okay.
When we talk about research mindset, any organization, when they recruit for new employer, they are looking out for who can be a problem solver, problem-solving mindset, research bent of mind. So can you share some of the best practices in your institutions to work on research skill, which is really developing your students? Over to you, Dr. Venugopal.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. I would like to tell you, our institution, Nature School of Management, is totally focusing from the first year onwards, in the research area. So we have the dual mentorship, where an industry expert as well as the academicians, they start holding their hands, and they will identify the students, those who are interested at the initial stages, and they start encouraging them. And with this model, where most of the students are showing interest towards the research. Here, the lecturers, the professors, senior professors, at the same time, the industry experts, both together, they are coming forward with certain case studies, with problem-solving issues. So students are taking with both hands an advantage of this, and they are very busy. And as of now, nearly about the first year students itself published in 5 international journals this research articles. So, and more students are coming forward in this line, and we have mentors. This is academic mentors as well as industry mentors, and we have the best of best kind of the library. Okay, and we have tied up with some good time research institutions in the country, and we are in association with the US AIDS, which is located in Washington. And in collaboration with USAID, what we are doing is we are taking the projects and we are involving the students in the research activities. So because of which, students are able to do some good work with result oriented. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Venugopal. Again, I'll come back to Dr. Suman Pathak. Ma'am, if you can just guide us how to choose a research topic, which is fundamentally a challenge for any researcher. Over to you, ma'am.
Actually, research topic is the first thing when you want to do a research. So the basic thing that generally how we research when the student come to us as a student that I want to do a research. They have a very broad idea, or sometimes they come with some very fascinating idea that I want to do research on the economic policy of the government of India, its impact on the laborers, or something which is very, very difficult to research. So whenever you want, or whenever anybody plan for a research, or when a student come to me for a research, what I said, yes, you come to me with a broad idea that you are in management, you want to do research in HROB or in finance or online marketing or whatever you want. First thing what I ask him to go back and search for at least 10 research papers, just go through that. What are the many ideas, many things in the HRM area? What are the many functions of HR areas? What are the contemporary researches going on in HR areas? Whether you want to do on a function, or you want to do on some competency line, or you want to do to search the many new practices coming into the HR areas like HR as a business partner, or employee engagement, or work-life balance. Even when you identify a topic, that is not enough to finalize a research problem. Because I want to do a research on employee engagement. This is not enough. No? You have to search existing literature on the employee engagement, and then you have to come to the niche of the topic, and then you have to finalize the research topic. Because when once you finalize the research topic is like your name. So we discuss so much when we plan for a name of a child or a kid in the family. We discuss so much, we do many researches that the meaning of that name, how it is going to impact on the personality, how it is going to impact. Similarly, when you are planning for a research topic and once you fixed it, you can't change it. So this time you have to do maximum study you should do in the beginning of the research. When you are finalizing, you give time to the research. No need to be hurried in the research topic finalized. You only have in your mind that you want to do a research on HROB area. There are thousands of areas in HROB. You should go through some research to get into the many base of these things, and on the basis of that only you can identify the fundamental research problems. When you identify the research problem, then you find out the research topic which should not be very repeated, which has something new also. And along with this, one thing you have to think that when you do a research with this topic or on this topic, what you are going to give to the beneficiaries, what you are going to get it, what your institute is going to get it with your topic, and how this is going to be to help the society, what are the values to the society, how it is going to add to the literature of the existing literature, how it is a researchable topic, what are the future scope of research in this topic. So this all things you should have, then you plan for a research according to me. So your topic selection should be very, very focused, and with lot of study, lot of literature survey only, you should plan for a topic. Sometime, in fact, I just want to share my own one story, that for a research seminar, I plan to write, somebody told me, ma'am, there is a seminar on the uses of technology in management. This was the topic of the conference. Long back, it is 2007-8. And what I have decided to do, because I am not technology, so I decided, and I have given a 4-line to the seminar, because the last date is just to come. I have written that the generational differences and impact of technology. They approved the topic, and now I have to write the research paper. The fact is that getting a research literature on the relation between the generation and the uses of technology, first thing is very difficult. I'm not getting anything that time. I don't know today. And then I have just made it something. I cooked something and I planned a research paper and I went for the presentation. When I went for the presentation, I faced big challenge because I am not comfortable. I am a baby boomer. I am not comfortable. So I made my hypothesis that baby boomers are not comfortable in IT, in technology, in uses of technology. They are not comfortable. But when I reached to the seminar, there are thousands of international people
who are very good in technology, and they are even elder to me. So the reason is that there are many other factors which decide usage of technology rather than only the age. This is also very important that when you start using the technology, how much experience you have to use the technology. There are many factors on this. So just with your own experience or just with your own thought process, you can't make a research topic. This generally make it very difficult to get into some results, because generally we have some very good ideas to do, because I want this, I want to do this. No, whatever you want to do, first you search that is there any research possibilities. Do your topic is feasible to do the research on this, or it is not feasible. So research topic means you go through the research. First you decide your broad area, you come to the niche of the area, you identify the specific area on which you want to do. Like I told you, if HRM, there are thousands of functions of HRM, and there. Suppose you want to do an employee engagement, you search the research paper, you will find out the effect of employment on organizational productivity, on performance, on organizational effectiveness. Then you plan that how it is going to affect, and then you plan a research topic according to that. Thank you, Satya.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for giving a very good insight and sharing your experience, which I'm very sure that it's very useful for the participants. So my next question to Dr. Behra. So basically, as a researcher or as a beginner writing a research paper, always, most of us, we do face a challenge is how to go about writing a structure of an article. So if you can just give in your insight, what are the steps involved in writing a research article? Over to you, Dr. Behra.
Okay. As I told you in the beginning of this the introduction, that publication is a necessity now. We can't escape. Now, keeping that in mind, and everybody has aspiration, everybody has to have aspiration also in order to get promotion, in order to get academic achievement or recognition in whatever form and shape it is. So now that publication, research and publication is a necessity for academicians, at least not for industry people, we now need to narrow down our thought on what to write. And after we decide on what to write, next, of course, question would be logical question would be how to write, and then when and where and all those. Now, if we have to choose what to write, the first thing, as now Dr. Suman also stated, we need to identify a problem. And Rajesh also in the beginning of his, during his introduction also did mention that in order to do a research, you have to identify a problem first. Unless you have a problem, you can't offer a solution and you can't actually go ahead. So now problems, there may be many, there may be hundreds of thousands of problems, but we need to understand our own expertise in that area, whatever I am best at, whatever thing I can address in the most comfortable way, and whatever area would be interest me, whatever area interests me. So let's say for me, I can't do anything on management or statistics, for instance. But then phonetics interests me, language interests me, linguistics interests me. So anything that has anything to do with language, linguistics, phonetics, and all those, I work on that. Now, the problem might be of many things. It might just come up like when we are maybe sleeping or writing a paper or reading a newspaper article or watching a TV program. Also, something might come up. So once you know that it's a problem, then the next logical step is to think problem and it some solution, some intervention from my side, and whatever capacity or capabilities or expertise I have, I must try my best to address those issues. Now, in order for me to address those issues, I am not Einstein, I am not Galileo, I am not Shakespeare, and therefore within my limited abilities, whatever expertise, whatever knowledge and wisdom I have, I must bank on that and then try to respond to those questions. And in order for me to succeed in responding to those questions and convincing everybody, all the stakeholders, researchers and academicians and my institute, my management, my peers, my colleagues, everybody, and students also to a large extent, I must find out that, okay, this is the problem. Now, this I think where I can find solution, and then in that direction, I must do a lot of research in finding similar materials or reference materials or literature available already in the domain. And these days, thankfully, millions of things are available on the net. So if you search something, there will be hundreds of pages, there will be thousands of articles or books or any other resources available there. So whatever is okay for us, whatever would help us, we should choose those paper or literature or book or video or YouTube, anything, and then make an analysis then, and then see, okay, this way this book or these papers or that talk can help me. Now once you identify, and then once you go to the next step of identifying the literature, then review the literature and then read and all those, then of course comes the stage of collating. Now only gathering information will not result in a publication of a research article. If you have a box full of things, if you have a shelf full of books, but then you don't publish anything, you don't make anything out of that, it won't serve any purpose. So whatever information we have gathered, whatever information we have read or gone through, we must make use of them, and then of course that should reflect in the paper that we write. Of course, one underlying principle is that research has to be original to a large extent. In some cases, though, we can maybe refer to a couple of resources here and there, of course with proper acknowledgement. Otherwise, that will be construed as plagiarism. So it has to be original. There's no denying the fact. But then that's not all. In order for a paper to be good, to be acceptable, to be impactful, when we write something, when we write a research paper, when we produce a document, when we put in so much of labor and effort in doing something, it must also show, it must also benefit to a larger chunk of the society or the community we are a part of. Now, as academicians, our role is our job is to inspire people, is to share our knowledge or information that we already have, and inspire people to go and then do research. So a few steps I have noted down which will make a good publication. There are maybe a dozen or so, not even a dozen I believe, and those things will make a publication, a research article, a research paper good. So first thing is, whenever we are in doubt, whenever you feel that there is something that you are not sure about, that you don't know whether it's a problem or whether you can offer a solution to that, or whether it can actually benefit people, first thing is to go back to the ministry. I jotted down something, let's say, so okay, go back to that and then say, what made me think this, what prompted me to think about this, what triggered this idea. So that will clear a lot of clouds, and then say, okay, this was the problem and this will first. Second thing is to remember always who the audience is and that they're important. Now, keeping the audience in mind is important, because now for today's webinar, for instance, today's panel discussion, for instance, we can't have audience, we can't have everybody. Only those who have aptitude for research or orientation for research can become a part of this. So we knew that the number wouldn't be too big, unlike other webinars and all those, but still we are okay with that, because it serves a limited purpose, and it's addressed, it's targeted at an audience that has research orientation or research inclination. The third point is, don't over edit. If you edit too many things in a paper or in a document, that will leave nothing. You are almost left with a skeleton kind of thing. If you peel over the entire thing, the bone, the skin and the flesh and everything, it will leave with nothing except a skeleton or a frame. That's what we don't want. Then avoid mistakes of fact. Some data, some facts, some factual information, all those things they cannot be fiddled with. Let's say at the present time, population of India is about 138 crores. Now we can't say India has a population about a crore. No, nobody will believe that, and that's a actually wrong information. Somewhere plus minus 10-20% is okay, but then you can't overhaul the fact and then say India has a population of a crore. Only Bangalore has about a crore population. Forget the rest of India. And India has many other cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, and Kolkata. So that's avoid mistakes with regard to facts. Then be liberal, but then radical also. Liberal with regard to editing, liberal with regard to taking information, but also radical. It has to be out of box thinking. You can't just say, okay, go by the frame, go by the rule, and then one thing at a time. No, you have to take bold steps. You have to be radical wherever necessary. Follow timeline. We have to give a timeline to us, telling, okay, by next Monday, by next Friday evening, I must be done with this. It can't be, okay, we will see, we will procrastinate, we will see at the end of the semester, end of the year. No, we have to have a deadline. Once we have a deadline with us, then we know that, yes, I have something nagging me, something paining me, and therefore I must do it. And that, unless we have a pressure, unless we have a time frame, unless we have a time regime or discipline, we won't be able to do proper research. Next is, make the papers interesting. It can't be just anything. It has to sound good. Now these days, people write some catchy phrases. So it once somebody sees that, once somebody hears that, they'll say, "Wow, that's something that sounds catchy." Then add personal philosophy. Everybody, every individual, every researcher, every person has something, some philosophy, some ideas, some values to himself or herself. So add those personal values, add those personal touches to that. That will add value to the paper, and that will make it authentic. Like I can't say what Einstein said, what Galileo said, what Shakespeare said, what Wordsworth said. What I am saying is important. I may refer to them, I may follow them, I may follow them as my masters, but then I must have something to say. I can't just say something and say, yes, this is what Socrates said, and this is what Galileo said, and no. They said something, yes, that's very good. We are grateful to them, but I also must say something. I also should have something to say. Then always add dimensions. Now, when I say dimensions, it's multi-dimensional. It can't be a flat paper telling, okay, it reads very, slow. It doesn't have interest. It doesn't hold the interest. Doesn't flow. Literature or any writing for that matter must flow. Must have information. Must have so many dimensions that, okay, it must have depth. When you see something, you say, wow. Now, Raghuram Rajan's papers, for instance, on economics, he was former governor of RBI, and now he is a professor of Harvard, and he is also a consultant to the World Bank. That gentleman, when he writes, or Shashi Tharoor when he writes, now they have depth. You know that, okay, there is so much thing that you can work around, that will trigger thoughts in your mind. Next is have humor. It can't be like plain and blunt, like okay, like a scientific paper. It must have humor. It must make you roar with laughter if opportunities are there. But then that addition of some humor somewhere, it may not be entirely humorous paper like a Tom and Jerry, but yes, somewhere it must have some humor to make you light, to make your reading comfortable and enjoyable. And last, of course, and very important, in fact, not the least though, is be quick in your decision. Whatever decision you have to take, yes, I want to write a paper. That's right. Number 2, I want to finish my paper by the end of this week. Second. Third, I am writing this paper for so and so journal. Number 4, so and so journal expects me to follow these guidelines, and I'm following all of them. Number 5, I'm following all ethics with regard to plagiarism, with regard to content, with regard to reference and acknowledgement. I follow everything in letter and spirit. Then only my paper will give me satisfaction, and people will benefit, society at large will benefit. Incidentally, that's one of the purposes of a good academician, or any good citizen for that matter. Academicians are the torch bearers, and therefore we must lead from the front. But even otherwise also, as an ordinary citizen also, we still should have something to inspire people, to motivate people, to get them going. All right. Thank you, Satya.
Thank you, Dr. Baira, for enlightening in details about the steps involved in writing a research paper. So we have a very limited time. I have 2 more questions for Dr. Manohar, then I'll back to Mr. Rajesh. Dr. Manohar, being a statistician, what is the future of statistics in research? So what is your takeaway? Dr. Manohar, over to you, please.
Yeah, Satya sir, I think future is very different. Statistics is not statistics. Now statistics is something data analytics, and it was coined in 1960s only. So it's very long. Means very old concept that statistics is not statistics now. It is analytics. So the things which are happening in analytics is known everywhere, everything. So what I feel is that statistics will not be there, but everything will become empirical. Means we will not make any inference from sample to population, but we will have population itself. So if you think about the present COVID situation, as per the Oxford University, which is conducting the human trials, so till date 1,000 people has already volunteered. So we have more data, we have more people, we have more information. So in future we will have more and more data. So there will not be any estimation. there will be inference, direct inference from the population itself. And we have a lot of softwares, we have a lot of tools, we have data visualizations, dashboards. R is there, Python is there, SPSS is there. So things are going to be very different than what they are present in present scenario. So things will definitely change. So definitely we will have a lot of changes in research in terms of statistics. Everything will become empirical.
Wonderful. Thank you,
Thanks.
Dr. Manohar.
Thanks.
So the last question to Mr. Rajesh. Earlier, you were sharing about identifying a research problem. Now, can you throw some light on how to narrow down those research problems?
Yes,
Over to you,
absolutely.
Mr. Rajesh.
Yes, sir, absolutely. When I come to say about narrowing down a topic, it is to make the research process very easier. See, when we take a very broad topic, it largely confuses the researcher, and ultimately your guide also cannot follow you on everything that you keep doing. So we have to limit our, I think we have to limit ourselves with what we are trying to achieve or what we are trying to research upon. An example could be like, if you want to find out the impact of, say, the cartoons like Power Rangers or anything like that on children. Talking about cartoon, we have number of channels. We have around 10 or 15 channels in media which we have, and again we have internet where a lot of series are being played with cartoon. So this makes it very broad. So if you want to analyze, you have to choose one channel first and then identify a series, a particular series. For example, Power Rangers could be one series in which you can do your research on, and then find out what impact that this Power Rangers program is creating on children. And because there is a lot of violence there is a lot of action there, so one can research on such area. Similarly, when it comes to a novel or a poetry, now I told you earlier that there are so many types of kinds of writing poetry around the world. So we need to fix with some at least with one country like India, or say American poetry or something like that. And when you what I can even say what I did, for example, to make it very clear. So I wanted to work on poetry, and then I chose poetry as a broad option. And then I thought like I should work on American poetry because I was highly interested in confessional poetry. So when I take American poetry, it's very broad. I will not be able to cover everything. So I thought, no, I must work on something which is very niche. So I selected confessional poems. So when it comes to confessional poetry, again you have there are 10 or 15 poets in confessional poetry. Now I need to identify with the one or two with whom I can do my research to fulfill my needs. So again, I had to filter that to a particular two poets, which made the whole process easier, and I was able to write without any problem. So I think trying to limit yourself the topic, and with books that you want to choose, say limitedly, like one or two books would be sufficient to prove your point. So I've seen a lot of research scholars choosing say 4 novels or 5 novels or 6 novels, and then ultimately they are trying to find it very difficult when they want to summarize entire research, and sometimes they don't even understand where they started and where they are trying to finish. So I think if we are very focused on what we want and what we want to achieve, I think the process will be much easier. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajesh.
Yes.
I think we are on track. Now, what we'll do is the participants, if any question you have, you can share in the chat box, and I'll moderate to the question to the panelist. And we have 10 minutes for it. I think we have one question already raised by Preeta. The question is, if somebody can help me to understand what are the problems faced in publishing or publications. If any of you, the panel member, can address this question. And the question is, what are the common problems generally the beginner researcher faced in publishing or publication?
Can I respond?
Yes, please.
Okay. The question, as I understood, is how does a beginner publish, right? Write and publish.
Yes, yes.
I think in course of our panel discussion, we some of us throw light on that. But then I don't mind repeating all over again for the benefit of the participants. First thing is to, if you are keen on researching, you should be able to identify a problem. Problem could be anything. It does not necessarily have to be from your own field or from the area that you are working on. It can be anything in general. But then for the benefit, because that will give you insight, that will make you confident, that will give you expertise. That's why it's always good to choose an area, choose a field that's close to your heart. And once you choose a topic or a field, then start working on that. See how other people have worked on that, how other people have reflected on that, and then you can start doing. Initially, it may not be a good venture. It might not sound or appear to be as good as you expect it to be, but that's okay. Many people initially fail in writing or publishing. J.K. Rowling, if you remember, was turned down so many times before she got her books published, and now they have become iconic. She is one of the most sought after authors in the world now. She has sold millions of copies. And even Rajesh can add to this also, if I may request.
Yes, sir. So I'd be happy to tell my opinion also. See, when it comes to writing a research paper, more often journals reject you because your content is something which is already there. No, we do not spend much time and invest much time in coming something which is unique, I think. So that is one way journals. And in our journal, we always focus on something which is very unique. And no, we want you to write about something which is trending or something that really relates to our journal. Some of us even contribute papers to us. No, there is a scope in our journal. Like we focus on certain areas. I think every journal has no this focus. So I think before you contribute your paper to such journals, you need to understand the focus of or the scope of those journals by reading few back issues from their journals, so you will understand what they are expecting, and in that way I think it would be most often you can try to avoid rejections. But even if it's get rejected, it doesn't matter. You can still keep writing and sending your papers for different journals, and definitely somewhere somebody is going to accept yours. So once you get that confidence of okay, my journal has been accepted, I think you can progress very well.
All right, thank you. And we have one more question. The question is, as a beginner, can I go with descriptive or experiment research paper? If anybody from the panelists can address.
I think it's very simple. Since it's a beginner, so you should go with descriptive only instead of going with meta-research.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. And one more question from the participants. How do I differentiate research limitations and research gaps from research publications? This is one question from the participants.
I think research gap. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, any of you, please.
See, research gap is generally related to your specific research, like whatever the limitation of your research work. It is missing related to your sampling. Research limitation is related to your sampling or the timeline or related to insufficient information. These are the informations which is actually the research limitation. And gap, when you write a research, then there are some further scope to do. Like you focused on some factors and you have done your research on those factors, but there are still related topics are there, related areas are there. That is known as a research gap. So in that way, you can say research limitation is related to the construction or the infrastructural issues, and research gap is more related to the content, in my opinion.
Thank you, ma'am. Again, we have some question by Nivita, and the question is, can you explain the tense that we have to use when writing research paper? I think Dr. Behra, you will keen on addressing this.
Hello. Because you are writing on a contemporary issue and writing it now, it's always good to write in the present tense. Unless, of course, you have some reference to that in the past. Let's say somebody said somewhere, you are quoting somebody, those things can be in the past, but then it has always to be in the present tense. And the that will have one more advantage also. That will make it relevant and that will make it updated. If you talk of something that somebody told 100 years ago, or I was doing this, or I had done this, that will not add relevance to what we are talking of now. These days, we call it jet age. Time is flying. People don't have time. So we must stay relevant. We must be up to date to the second, to the minute. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Behra. Again, one more question raised from the participants. How is the research motivation significant while writing the synopsis? Yes, any of you, please. How is the research motivation significant while writing the synopsis?
Actually, motivation is only required in the synopsis because this is the first time when you want to communicate that why you want to do this research, what you find interesting in this topic, why this topic is your interest, and what are the what it is going to give to the institute or to the company or to the fellow students or in the line of further research. So basically, research motivation is a more important thing in the more important area in the research process, because in the synopsis only you have to write it. When you select a topic, there is some purpose of selecting that topic. So that is your motive to do that on a specific topic, from a specific area, on a specific theme. So how it is going to contribute to the nation, how it is going to contribute to your institution, why you are doing this research, what is your purpose of doing research. Forget about the topic. And motivation of doing a research is actually in synopsis we write. It is just 10 lines what we write in the synopsis generally, and that is actually fulfill the purpose of your research.
Thank you very much.
Sir, I think I am okay.
I think we have one more question. I'm sure Dr. Manor will keen on addressing. The question is, how do I overcome from this statistical barrier in my mind while writing a research paper? Is there any specific tips anybody would like to share? Dr. Manor, please.
Generally, people think that statistics is very difficult. It's not difficult. Now you have software. Now you have different websites. So you just use this software, and it becomes very simple. It's in your mind that statistics is very difficult. It's very easy. And I don't want to promote my blogs, but there is a blog on SPS, there is a blog on my own. There are hundreds of blogs, there are hundreds of YouTube channels, which explains. If you want to apply t-test, it will take you 10 minutes to understand. So you just have to give more time. That's it, and nothing else. So be ready to give time. That's it.
Very much, Dr. Manor. We have one more question. Can a research focus on multiple dimensions? I think Dr. Suman ma'am would keen on addressing this. Can the research focus on multiple dimensions? I think the question is more about multidisciplinary.
See, nowadays we are talking about the multidisciplinary research, and there are some very primary areas of the disciplines like economics, sociology, and then political science, which is already entered into the research. And when you talk about the research in management, you can't think if it is not a multidiscipline, because economics is always there, society is always there, social psychology is there. So multidisciplinary research is possible. Now the meaning of multiple dimensions, actually I am not able to get it. The dimensions means what you want. In the beginning you fix a focus, your research question, your research focus, and you have to be focused on that. But yes, the advantage and the benefit of the research should go to the society, to the nation, to the economic policies. It should be contribute in many dimensions. But as far as the research, I think it should be very focused, and factors you can take from society, social and sociology and economics in the management field. Generally, we take this actually. In the management research, it is always multidisciplinary.
Yeah, I just want to add to it. We are talking about multi-dimensional. Yes, so we should not increase the dimensions of a research problem. if we have a lot of dimensions, our work will increase. So focus on with respect to your limitations, with respect to your resources, time, availability, and all. You try to limit your dimensions. But research should always be multidisciplinary. It should means two things.
Yes, sir.
So we cannot say that a person who is working in HR should concentrate on HR. No, not at all, because HR is affecting finance. Finance is affecting retention. Retention is because of some psychological factors, maybe environmental factors. So research is multi-dimension. Means it should have all the domains, but dimensions problems dimension you should limit with respect to your resources. This is what
Yeah,
I
the same I
feel.
also, yeah.
Very much,
True.
very much, very much. Yeah, wonderful. I think any other question? Let me see. Yeah, one more question. Dr. Venugopal, you are with us.
Yeah, please.
Dr. Venugopal, there is a question. I think you're keen on addressing this question. Is there any suggestions? I think the person is from an B school. He is asking, is there any suggestion you would like to give to strengthen research culture in an educational institutions? Over to you, Dr. Venugopal.
Yeah. Actually, the institutions, most of the institutions, they have research and development activity. The thing is, institutions should identify the students who are really interested in research. And if you identify the students, you start advising him, counseling him, mentoring him towards the research, because research has a huge potential in every discipline. Just not only in management, you go to sciences, medical, medicine, you go to any specializations, there's a big scope. So I feel, identifying the students at the initial stages, his seriousness towards the research is very important. And if you find such people, you can encourage them. And there are a lot of opportunities across in academics as well as for the industry line.
Very much. Thank you, Dr. Venugopal.
Thank you.
I think we are on time. Hardly 5 extra minutes we have taken. So my sincere gratitude to all the panelists, those who have spent their valuable time and share their experience and insight on how to be effective a researcher and how to develop certain key essential skills to write an effective research paper. I think the journey started with the research question which Dr. Suman ma'am have addressed about how it is very important being a researcher to very clear and focus about your research question, because that's a foundation. It's like creating a house. The foundation has to be strong, so that the research question has to be very fundamentally strong, and you need to be very clear and very focused. So that's Dr. Suman ma'am have very nicely explained and share her insight. Then we have Dr. Venugopal who share his insight on what are the best practices educational institutions need to equip to develop the problem-solving mindset. So that he was focusing on. Then further, Dr. Manohar was much more focusing on, gave a very glimpse and very neat idea about how the statistics and how it looks in the future when we're talking about research. And then Mr. Rajesh, I can focus about how do we identify the research problem and how do we narrow down and stick to the goal of your research journey. And the beginning, Dr. Behra was keen on focusing on how, because that's a fundamental, most of the students and most of the beginner being a researcher have always a question mark in their mind. How do I start writing a research paper? I think Dr. Behra have very clearly given an insight about the steps, 7-8 steps. How do you start to go writing research paper? Then you are much more focusing on your language. How do you write? Because finally writing different and writing a research paper is quite different, where he much focus on the strengthening your writing skill on research paper. And I trust that the whole session had a very insightful for all the participants, including me, and my sincere gratitude to all the participants also and the panelists who share their valuable time. And it's really, since last 1.5 hours was quite productive for all of us, and looking forward for such intellectual engagement to help each other and strengthen our research abilities. Thank you once again. I think there's so many questions are coming on. I'll request all of them to share in email to Mr. Rajesh. Mr. Rajesh, I think we can help them by responding through email also. So many questions are coming.
Definitely,
So
sir.
that's wonderful. Thank you, for all of you once again. Stay home and stay safe and take care of yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.